Hey everybody, Jay Barino here. Thanks for joining me today for a new off-day playthrough of the Metroid Prime Trilogy. I would probably put the original Metroid Prime in my top 5 favorite games of all time list. They're fantastic, just the whole trilogy is. I'm going to be playing through them all. If you've been watching my streams on the weekends, you'll know that I did play through Metroid Prime Trilogy recently, but I had talked a few times about making a YouTube playthrough because the layouts of these games are very labyrinth-like with lots of items to collect, and I've been really thinking about putting together what I would consider like an optimal pathing route through them in order to get 100% both logbook scans and collectibles. So I've been working on that, I've got it put together, and that's what I'll be following for this playthrough. So we're just going to get right into the first Metroid Prime today. If you're unfamiliar with this game, it is a Metroidvania, meaning there's, again, lots of items to pick up, which will then allow access to new areas, to pick up new items, to gain access to other areas, etc., with a lot of optional content along the way. The original Metroid Prime was from 2002. I have to pick a face. My eyes aren't blue, but I'll pick this really pale person because my skin is quite pale. So I'm going to be playing on Veteran, and let me explain why. I know some folks would have liked to see me play on Hypermode. Hypermode is the hardest difficulty. The difference, though, is you do need to beat the game at least once on your save file to unlock Hypermode, and it saves all of your logbook scans along the way. And I want to do a playthrough where I collect all the logbook scans, so I don't want to have to play through the game not scanning everything simply to unlock Hypermode. There's just no other way to do it, unfortunately. Also, I feel like Veteran is a very balanced and fun way to play. Hypermode, all of the enemies are just huge bullet sponges and take forever to kill. I'd be happy to take more damage myself, but not have to deal so much damage to the enemy to kill them. It just takes much, much longer. Alright, so let's get started. Metroid Prime is very atmospheric. I'm going to try to maybe cool it with the commentary a little bit and just sort of let the music and the atmosphere sink in a little bit. I am playing on a version of the Dolphin emulator called Prime Hack, and there's going to be a purple screen right now. Because of the emulation. So I guess a couple introductory things to talk about since it's going to be the first episode of the series. Big thing is the scan visor, which allows us to interact with terminals and also scan things to add to our logbook, which is its own collectathon throughout the game. So there's 100% item pickup, but there's also going to be 100% logbook scans. And it's very easy to miss certain scans. Certain enemies only appear once or twice in the game, and if you miss them, then you can't get the scans. So our main character hero here is Samus Aran. We have a gun over our arm. How exciting. So the thing with the scan visor is it allows you to basically just collect information around you. It's kind of add to the atmosphere. Right, so I don't know, a lot of this stuff, like, this isn't going into our logbook. Only certain things actually go towards our logbook completion percentage. But the rest, you know, I may scan certain things to kind of add, again, to that atmosphere. I don't plan on scanning literally everything. And you'll see a difference between things that, again, go into the logbook and things that don't. To reiterate one more time, I am playing on a software called Prime Hack, which is a version of the Dolphin emulator, which is a GameCube and Wii emulator. And if I remember, I'll put a link in the description for you to check it out. So here's our first actual enemy. And as you can see, so you get a little picture that pops up, and then it'll say that it's recorded to the logbook. So I don't plan, again, on scanning everything and reading everything. Maybe some of the lore entries I'll read aloud just for fun. So we actually ended up here because we're following our nemesis, Meta Ridley, who is in charge of the space pirates here, and clearly something has gone awry on this ship. So we can scan around to kind of get a sense of what's going on. Biohazardous materials, phase and batch. High levels of radiation detected. Escape pod entrance, vessel has been jettisoned. So we scan these parasites once for the logbook, we don't have to do it again. Nor do we have to scan all of these space pirates, they're all dead, but we're learning, you know, the different ways that they may have died. As you can see right there, we had some stuttering. That's going to be a common occurrence because we are playing on an emulator, specifically when we go in between rooms. So if we were playing on console, typically what happens is you shoot the door and it won't open while it loads. On the emulator, typically it'll open right away, but you'll see some stuttering. But the fact that we're playing on a high frame rate at a high resolution is, I think, so much better. Okay. So we also have this morph ball where we can turn into a little ball of energy that gets encapsulated by the morph ball. I'll go ahead and scan this map station. There are only a limited number of those in the game, so make sure you scan one here. Lovely. Okay, so the map is pretty detailed. Again, for a three-dimensional space, it's pretty good. I think Metroid Prime is, I think, preceded Dark Souls in having some of the best 3D level design interconnectedness, especially because it was released in 2002. So, I'll scan some of the stuff. You can read them if you'd like. You don't have to. I think, again, some of the lore stuff and, like, the pirate data entries I may go ahead and read for you aloud, just for fun. But all, like, the creature scans and such, I probably won't read unless they're mini-bosses or bosses. So the original Metroid preceded this game. This was actually released after Super Metroid. If you're familiar with the Metroid series, the original Metroid was released on NES, and that's a game about Samus basically hunting down space pirates on the planet Zebes. We can go through and scan some of these just to see. Rejection of phase and compound detected. So we don't know what's really gone wrong here, but we get a sense that there's something going on with space pirate experiments. And I can hear some. We have a charge beam. We also have missiles. So we have a couple different options here. So even though these folks are injured, we are just indiscriminately murdering them because they're still hostile towards us. So, to me, again, I played this game, so I know what's happening, but you get the sense that the pirates are experimenting on these big parasites and injecting them with radiation to mutate them. So we follow the space pirates here. We can also scan. This is our energy pickup. Just get some research from that. Scan the turret. Start scanning and then duck around the corner. So the chronology of the releases for Metroid, I believe, was the original Metroid, followed by Metroid 2 on GameCube, followed by Super Metroid, which is probably the best known of the series for Super Nintendo. Okay, and now you see how this one is red? That means that it's going to be a logbook entry for pirate data. Space pirate encrypted data decoded. Zebes has fallen. All ground personnel are presumed dead, either killed by the hunter clad in metal, that's us, or in the subsequent destruction of the underground facilities. Our research frigates Orpheon, Cerasius and Volparagam were in orbit at 0 hour and managed to retreat. Frigate Orpheon is now docked at Vortex Outpost. Orpheon's cargo appears to have a 100% survival rate. Metroids are healthy but on restricted feeding schedules due to uncertain supply status. We are ready to begin research on the Metroids and other promising life forms. Security status remains at Code Blue. No signs of pursuit from the Hunter. But here we are. And we can scan these along to see the different stages of phasian infusion of this creature up here, which is basically one of those giant parasites that we had scanned at the beginning that was feeding on the space pirate corpses. So this game takes place in between Metroid 1 and Metroid 2 for the Game Boy. So we're chasing the space pirates after leaving Zebes for the first time. So this is just, again, research notes about what the space pirates are doing with these. Space pirates they're basically known for kind of an ends justifies the means, weird scientific experiments, such sort of things. That sort of stuff. And again, I don't plan on scanning literally everything. It's just because we're right at the beginning here. We're sort of experiencing the atmosphere a little bit. So we also have our charge beam here, as you can see. So the game originally didn't have motion controls. I'm playing on the Trilogy version, which does allow for the motion controls for how we aim. So that gives us a lot of pristine control with how we aim, but because the game didn't originally have motion controls, you'll notice that sometimes I'll snap to a target because there is a lock-on mechanic, which makes aiming in general much, much, much easier. Parasite larva. So none of these technically are counting towards our logbook. Ice Shriekbat. Keep that one in mind, because that is one of those scans in the game that's very easy to miss if you are not very diligent. And we got that pirate log scan earlier where it said Zebes has fallen. That's one where we won't be able to come back to this location because it is the tutorial. So if you miss that, you can't come back. But to get, like, the special ending, you just need 100% items, and that's not possible to miss at any point. You can always backtrack to get any items you want. Okay, so you'll notice we have 15 missiles. That's going to be a big part of our collection throughout the game. At the end of the game, we're going to have a total of 250 missiles. And that might seem like crazy overkill, but there are power-ups that you get that will allow you to consume your missiles at a very quick rate. You can only shoot missiles at a pretty slow rate. There's a way you can actually exploit that a little bit, which I can talk about later. But for now, let's just continue the game.
Recording to logbook.
It's our save station. I'm not going to use save states. I'm playing on an emulator, but I'm going to play this game as it was sort of intended to. If I start getting a lot of crashes, which I tended to get in Metroid Prime 2, then maybe I'll use save states just to save myself some time, but I'll be making cuts in the video so that you don't see any of those. Let's head on to our first mini-boss. So the first thing with any boss is just scan it. Sometimes it'll show you weak points as well that allow for a new lock-on target. Parasite Queen, parasite female, genetically enhanced by unknown means. A weak spot has been detected in this creature's mouth. Use your auto-targeting to acquire this new target. Scans indicate the presence of a potent mutagen, origins unknown. Creature exhibits the ability to fire weapons-grade blasts of energy from its mouth, a trait not present in the standard parasite genome. It appears the pirates have begun a bioengineering program with considerable results. Okay, so we just have to shoot this thing. We really don't have that many tools in terms of weapons. So one thing you'll notice here is how fast I can shoot missiles. Like, so how my gun is sort of opened up here, which is like, that's like missile mode, right? But if you toggle it with shooting normally, you can actually kind of rapid fire your missiles. I'll see if I can do it properly. That was pretty good. And it wouldn't be a Metroid game if you didn't have to run out quickly. But yeah, the quick toggle missile mode is an exploit, and it was removed in Metroid Primes 2 and 3. So we're just going to use it occasionally here in Prime 1, but not for most of the game, because eventually we're going to get weapons that are so much more powerful that even rapid-fire missiles won't be that valuable. It's an instance where using your scan visor can actually help you quite a bit. It's deceased. What do you know? So we've actually already been through this section of the ship, but now we're escaping. Not the green goo! So these are the parasites. If you missed the scan earlier, you could pick them up here. Definitely not the green goo! Again, I'm trying to consciously make an effort to not be a motor mouth for the entirety of this playthrough. Again, so much of the game is just sort of chilling back and letting the world sort of absorb you a little bit. I'm out of missiles. I used them all in the Parasite Queen. Five and a half minutes. Plenty of time to escape. Also, these parasites, they suicide into you, but do virtually no damage. I have no missiles. Oh, I have no missiles. Missiles home, if that wasn't clear. So if you're locked on, you can shoot one and then duck quickly behind a corner. It'll still land. And your health very much functions as its own resource here, so it's not so much really about avoiding damage as it is a combination of both avoiding and absorbing damage. You're never going to be able to avoid 100% of damage. Certain enemies will just blatantly read your inputs, and they'll track your movement, and they'll hit you no matter what in some instances. It's probably possible to not get hit at all, but it'd be extremely challenging, and you want to use your energy as a resource. So as you can see, we only have 99 points, but eventually that will increase exponentially over time as enemies' damage increases also. Okay, let's get out of here. Got our grapple beam, and we can read a little bit about Meta Ridley. Cerebral casing stable, exoskeleton seal holding. Begin umbilical retraction. So Ridley is a dragon that was a boss from the original Metroid, and now they put him in a big metal case. Weapon update complete. Stinger ballistics online. Plasma fuel cell online. So we traced them here, and that was really what kicked off this whole game in the first place, and why we're here. But clearly, again, something's gone terribly awry on this ship. Barrier suit malfunction, morph ball malfunction, missile malfunction, charge beam malfunction, grapple beam malfunction. So we started with a meager amount of tools, and now we have literally zero. We lost our charge beam, we lost our ability to launch missiles, to turn into a morph ball, everything. Alright, we made it with plenty of time to spare. This was the tutorial after all. But of the three Metroid Prime games, you lose the most equipment at the beginning of this one. We lost our glorious shoulder pads. What a shame. Alright, so I think this is a good spot to stop. We played through the tutorial. I think I did an okay job giving a good intro to this game, this series, and what this video series is going to be. Again, I've mapped out what I feel is to be a fairly optimal and satisfying route through the game. It's not going to be using any glitches, so I would consider it just like a standard run-through to get 100% pickups and 100% scans. So I hope that's something you're looking forward to experience this with me. Again, I probably won't be talking nearly as much through the entirety of this series. I'll talk a little bit about my routing choices. In some cases, I'll pick non-optimal choices in order to pick up what I feel like is an item in like a proper order, as opposed to saving it for later. Just little things like that, but for the most part, again, I think I have a pretty good route through the game, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with you. And I hope you like this game. I hope you like watching this game. If you are savvy with downloading ROMs, you could play this for yourself. I own the disc for Wii, so I really have no qualms downloading a digital version of it for my PC. But playing it on a higher resolution with higher frame rate really is a treat. I feel like when you see the game like this and looking this good, you kind of feel like this is how the game always looked to your childhood memories. But if you think back, you're playing it on a 4.3 CRTV, yeah, it was a lot lower quality than this. So seeing it like this now, available to be played in 2020, is a real treat for me. Again, this is one of my favorite games of all time. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.